out sick tonight. So unfortunately, you would only see a handsome face instead of a handsome and a pretty face tonight. Well, actually, I'm going to take that back because we have another pretty face here that's going to, I guess you could say, take the place of the previous one for tonight. It's not a co-host, it's actually a guest. And I'm excited about the program we have tonight because as I told you in the past, we try to cover the whole spectrum: health, finance, sports, entertainment, movies, special interests. And tonight we're on the topic of, you could say, movies, or more specifically, documentaries. And we have tonight with us Sandra Polonese Centeno, and she has a documentary that is coming out on Haiti. And please, or you, not just please, you can't turn the dial because the information we have tonight is powerful. It's not just a good movie that you're going to see once it's out. It's going to do more than that. It's really going to educate you. And it's something that needs to be known. It's something that has to be passed down from generation to generations. For those of you who don't know, Haiti was the first black nation that was formed. The very first one was Haiti. A lot of people nowadays go just off of images of the news and just look at negative images of Haiti, but there are a lot of powerful and historical information from Haiti. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Sandra because, like I said, there's a lot of news, but if we have time to cover it, we do. If not, you can get it from the website. But you can't get Sandra from the website. We gotta get to her right here. So again, the name of this film is The Price for Freedom. And I know I'm going to get this wrong, but your production company is, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
The name of the production company is Matisse Media Productions.
Okay, and Matisse, what does that stand for?
It means like a mixture, or like a mélange, like a mixture of people.
Okay, good. Now, The Price for Freedom, I mean, our viewers may have a guess what this movie is about, or this documentary is planned to be about, but give them more specifics about what's going on with this documentary. Actually, before you do that, again, this film, you cannot see it yet, but it will be out soon. So after tonight, we will update the website with information on how you can follow the tracking of this movie. And again, all of our contact information is on the website. And later on, you will see the website listed on the screen, also our email address. So you have no excuse for not contacting us. And the last thing I want to mention is this would also be on the screen. This is a live show for those of you who are watching us live. You can call in. This is a live call in. This is not just our show. This is for everybody. And the number is 404-873 and 1349. Again, that's 404-873-1349. And we're on every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. So please feel free to give us a call with any questions, comments, or just any tidbits that you want to throw in. So let me go back to Sandra now. We're going to, again, the name of the documentary is The Price for Freedom. And again, let our viewers know exactly what is this film going to be about.
Well, the documentary is The Price for Freedom, and it's a 4-part documentary series. And it's in regards to the impact the Haitian Revolution had on the United States. It's a really general statement because really the Haitian Revolution impacted the whole world. And it being the first country to gain the first black country to gain its independence, it has impacted even the Africans that were enslaved in the United States, impacted them to start forming their own uprisings so that they can in turn get their independence as well. So the first part covers historical, and then the second part covers how it impacted life in the United States. So that part is really important for us who live here in the United States who don't really know African history and how Haiti contributed to gaining United States' independence. And then the third part covers the economy. Everybody wants, when you think about Haiti, everybody thinks of it being the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere.
Right.
But how did it get that way?
Right.
It gaining its independence in 1804, but you've got 200 years of independence. Why isn't Haiti a stronger nation?
Right.
So we talk about why, what happened, why it's the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere right now, And also the last segment covers the deforestation. So it covers the environment, what deforestation has done to the environment, to the coral reefs, to the fish that live in the ocean, to even the land, and how every time that there's a hurricane that hits Haiti, Haiti is underwater, it becomes flooded. So how deforestation affects Haiti.
Okay, now I'd like to back up a little bit.
Okay.
Now the first thing you mentioned was the Haitian Revolution. Now unfortunately, a lot of our viewers went to U.S. schools and they never heard of the Haitian Revolution, or were just touched on so short. By now, they don't remember what exactly that event was. What exactly was the Haitian Revolution?
Okay, the Haitian Revolution was basically, Haiti had hundreds of thousands of slaves that lived in Haiti that were brought over from Africa, from the west coast of Africa.
Okay.
And of course, since they were enslaved, they wanted to gain their independence.
Right.
And what they did was they revolted against the nation the most powerful nation in the world. And at that time, it was France. And Napoleon was the one who ran the army at the time, their military strength.
Right.
So they were the most powerful military strength in the world.
Wow.
And the Haitians, or the Africans at that time, because they lived in Haiti, they fought up and they, beat the French.
Wow.
That's the long and the short of it.
I was about to say, I really wish, and you all see during this interview, there's various B-roll or various footage that's being shown on the screen, but I really wish that we can look at a map right now, but you all can do it. I mean, with the internet now, you can just go and look at a world map, and the reason I say that is to look at the size of Haiti and look at the size of France. And to think at that time, France was the most powerful in the world. That takes it to another level. And the important part you mentioned in that is that Haiti won its independence.
Right.
And this was back in what year?
1804. So a little bit more than 200 years.
Wow. So, I mean, we can't get into as much as we want tonight on the Haitian Revolution, but it's so simple now. Just go to the internet, to whatever your favorite search engine is, type in Haitian Revolution. If you can't access the computer at home, go to the library, research at the library. I mean, whatever it takes. Or even if you have questions, call us tonight. But please, this is an important topic that you need to research, because the Haitian Revolution, it's not just for Haiti. I mean, it's important enough what it did in Haiti, but it also touched the southern U.S. in a major way. And we're going to touch on that later on. But the next question I want to ask is, what led you to this project?
Well, I am Haitian.
Okay.
And what led me to do this project is a number of reasons. One, as I was growing up, I was fortunate to have two parents who sat me down our family down every Sunday to relate family history to us, especially when it comes to the history of the country.
Good.
And, as I was growing up, I understood the importance of the Haitian Revolution and what it meant to, Black people.
Right.
So I'm also a producer and have been working at WSB for many years.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
while I was at WSB during the Elian Gonzalez drama,
right.
A lot of the people there were asking me what was the reason why the Haitians were being sent back, but then the Cubans were allowed to stay. What was going on with that?
Right.
And it all goes back to history. And so when I was relating this information to them, they didn't really know much about Haitian history, so I realized the importance of telling people, especially here in Atlanta, where a lot of people, are of African descent, or, they really don't know the history, the importance of it, and especially here in Georgia, as we were going to talk about a little bit later, how the Haitians impacted life here in the United States, being the Siege of Savannah, how they fought for the Americans for their revolution and won. So it's really important that people know that history so that they can have something to look back on.
So for all of you who missed Black History Month, for you watching us live, this is the last day of Black History Month. We're going to catch you up tonight, because what we're talking about tonight is not being told, well, I'm not going to say anywhere else, but it's going to be very hard to find what's being told tonight. And that's why I feel I know your documentary is very powerful. And when it is released, which is my next question real quick. When are you projecting this to be done?
Well, it's in production right now. So
Okay.
right now we're looking for funding so that we can actually, we've done a lot of the interviews already here
Okay.
with historians here in the United States, such as Louisiana. We had to get that information from them. Also New York, a lot of different historians, especially Dr. Alfred Hunt, who wrote the book Haiti's Influence on Antebellum America. And that was a really, really good book. If you guys ever have the opportunity to read that book, it really gives you an in-depth information as to how it impacted life in the United States. But we've got a couple more interviews that we have to do, and then the next trip that we have to go is, of course, to Haiti to get the B-roll of Haiti, and also we have to go to France so that we can get the French side of the story.
Right. And just going back to the direction I was going is basically what I am saying is this is not the last night you're going to hear about this documentary. I mean, and the completion date will not be the next time you hear it. We're going to follow this documentary throughout its progress as much as possible. So please, please stay tuned. And I heard the phone ringing. Is there a phone call?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, I guess not. Well, we're going to continue
Hello,
on. And I'm kind of jumping around, and I'm going to let the interview kind of go in that direction. But before I do that, let me go back to the telephone. Caller, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, I just wanted to make the comment. I'm from Michigan, but I live down here in Atlanta, of course. And I was just wanted to make the comment that in school, because I'm 30 and they really didn't touch on African American history or anything very much.
Right.
And so I just went ahead and looked it up myself, and I don't know if I'm correct in this, but I wanted to ask your guest. I'm sorry I forget her name.
Sam.
But, okay. Is it also true that Haiti is very much in debt to the French because of their freedom that they got way back, and because in actuality they are actually still suffering because of that freedom? Is that correct?
That is correct.
From my research?
That is correct, and that's the second part. That's the second segment on the documentary, the third segment, I'm sorry, where we talk about the economy and how it got that way. And the answer to that question, or the comment that you made, is yes, Haiti is still in debt to the French. And in 2004, when Haiti had their 200-year independence, they went to France to collect retribution for the debt that at the time it's called Charles X debt, and basically it relates to, I think it's $2.2 billion right now. And basically what happened was, after the Haitians got their independence, France, of course, was upset because they lost all their crops and all of their labor.
Right.
So they decided to come back with like 19 or 20 warships.
Wow.
To Haiti, and said, we are going to basically re-enslave you if you don't pay us this amount of money.
Wow.
So basically, or I'm sorry, not pay us this amount of money, but basically sign this treaty saying, you know, that you're going to be indebted to us. So of course, Haiti had to sign, and they are indebted, and it took up to, you know, like in the 20th century that they had to pay back all this money, but still they were never able to recoup, you know, the economy, even till today, still having a hard time. So Haiti does want their money back from, you know, from France, and we're not sure if it's ever going to happen. So.
Okay, we're having musical interlude for a minute. Carl, are you still there? Okay. Well, I'm sure that definitely answered your question. If not, well, I know it did, but if you have a follow-up is what I mean to say, please call back. And the point I was getting at before is I have, of course, a series of questions I have for you, but the interview is kind of dictating the direction that we're going. And you just spoke on, before the caller called, it's the ties of Haiti to America. Mm-hmm. Let's touch on that a little bit. What, besides travel in the airways and everybody travels back and forth to different places, how else is Haiti related to America historically?
Okay, historically, when the Haitian Revolution occurred, well, let's go before the Haitian Revolution.
Okay.
Okay, in 1779, the United States, of course, was not. They were not. They were fighting for the revolution itself.
Okay.
So basically, what they did was they needed assistance because they were trying to fight against the British.
Okay.
So they got. Well, they went to France, or not went to France, but they presented this offer to France, saying, "Look, if you help us," they were allies.
Right.
So they went to France and asked them, "We need your assistance. Can you help us fight against the British?" So France agreed that they would help the United States. But what they did was they didn't use their own military.
Right.
They went to Haiti and they got the Haitians, the Africans in Haiti,
Wow.
to come to the United States to help the United States fight against the British. So what happened was all the Haitians that were living in Haiti at the time, some of them were free and most of them were not.
Okay.
So the account of the numbers of Haitians that fought are between 500 to 5,000.
Wow.
So the reason I'm telling you this number is because the archives in Haiti burned down.
Wow. Okay.
So there is not an accurate count, an accurate number of how many Haitians fought in the American Revolutionary War.
Okay.
So yes, the Haitians fought in the American Revolutionary War
Right.
in Savannah, Georgia.
Wow.
There is now a monument that stands in Franklin Square that commemorate the Haitians, and they are 4 soldiers. And so I invite all of the audience today, if you're ever in Savannah, Georgia, please go see the monument in Franklin Square.
Oh, you have to.
Okay,
You
it's
have to.
dedicated to the Haitians that fought, and it is of 4 soldiers standing with their rifles. And in the documentary, we've interviewed the director of the museum in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
So he relates.
You know what? Not to cut you off on that, we're definitely going to come back to this, but I believe either the same caller is back or we have a different caller. Caller, can you go ahead?
Yes, it's me. I'm sorry. My phone got disconnected. I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Were you able to hear the answer, the full answer?
Yeah, I was able to hear that answer. I just had one more thing to ask, and I'll be done.
Sure, sure.
I was wondering, as far as Americans wanting to go to Haiti just on expedition or just visiting, I don't know if it's safe or I'm not really concerned with the safety aspect as much as getting a visa on my quest of African history. I'm just wondering, since Haiti is so close. And also I'm wondering, I'm Black American, so I'm really kind of, I wouldn't want to say dumb, but I'm kind of naive to the fact I really don't know. How is immigration now for Haitians when you come over here? Because I'm hearing all this amnesty stuff thrown around, but I'm not seeing our faces, and I know that there's Afro-Caribbean here and there's people from Africa. I wonder how that's affecting you, because I'm not from that community, so I don't know.
Okay, how it's affecting me or people in general?
It could be you or people from the West Indies or Africa, because I don't know. From my understanding, it's been difficult for them, but I just wanted to know a little bit more about that, if you could tell me.
Okay, first of all, I was born here, so I am an American citizen, although everybody in my family is from Haiti. So I claim Haiti because that is my home, that's the food that I eat, that's the music that I listen to, that's who I am.
That's your heritage.
It's my heritage. So as far as immigration is concerned, I think it was in the 70s, I believe it was, where you had such an influx of Haitians that came in on the boat. And after that occurred, there was, I guess the CDC put out this big notice that all the Haitians that arrived on the boat had HIV/AIDS.
Yeah, and we actually touched that a little while back on this show.
So now what's occurring as a result of that is, of course, a lot of the Haitians are not allowed to come to the United States because of that information. But I'm not really sure exactly, what the issue is with the Haitians nowadays. Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem.
But the Haitians that live here, I know a friend of mine who has a visa, and they were trying to get her to go back, especially after 9/11.
Right.
So, there's a lot of issues with immigration. So I really can't touch on it because I'm really not exactly sure of what's going on. But I know that the Haitians that live here had issues with trying to stay in the United States, especially after 9/11.
And I was going to say one interesting point is, and this is not recent, but it goes back, I believe, to the 70s, but the producer of this show who is here tonight, he's not on air, of course. He's behind the scene. Abdallah Galla is actually from Haiti. He has his U.S. citizenship now. But going back also to last week's show, it was last week's show, we spoke on a few U.S. senators who are proposing a bill. They wrote a letter to President Bush, not U.S. senators, they were actually Florida state senators, and some U.S. senators. They sent a letter to President Bush, and they're from Florida, about granting Haitians TPS status. And TPS is temporary protective status. And given the situation that's going on in Haiti, one of the reasons from the tropical storms and different things that hit from the flooding and so forth, they asked what temporary TPS status basically does is it gives you long-term, well, you only allowed, as you know, you're only allowed to stay in the country for a certain amount of time. TPS extends that time that you can stay. So that is a proposal, just to give you some current information. That's a proposal that's going on now. And that also happened recently, now going back to now with my roots, with Montserrat, just to give you a quick synopsis. In 1995, the volcano went off. And it has since gone off a few times since then. And TPS status was granted for Montserrat residents coming to the United States. And again, if you go, please call back. I think we got disconnected, and we can touch more on that. And also, if you email us or leave us your information, we will get more information back to you. But I believe we have another call on the line. Caller, please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, you're on. I can hear you. How you doing
Can
tonight?
you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Would you tell us that my mother...
I'm sorry, you're breaking up now. Could you repeat that, please? I think we just lost the caller.
Okay, but I wanted to make mention to the last caller, the woman who had made mention about travel to Haiti.
Right, I forgot about that part.
Okay, well, the U.S. Congress, I have to be politically correct here only because I don't want to get anybody hurt, but the U.S. Congress has issued a no travel advisory to go to Haiti. Now, you know, you can either take that advice or you can leave it. A lot of people have decided that they were not going to travel to Haiti, but the ones that did had a great time. And, you know, they say that the reason why they don't want people to travel to Haiti is because of kidnappings. But you can stay here in Atlanta and get kidnapped.
That's a good point. I was going to say I have a point behind it.
Okay, you can stay here and get kidnapped, or go to Florida and get kidnapped, or Michigan, from where the last caller was from. So there are more, and just so you know, that there are more kidnappings in Jamaica than there are in Haiti. But people go to Jamaica all the time.
Of course.
Okay? So, you know, as far as it, you know, travel to Haiti, with this particular documentary that I'm doing, once the documentary is completed, I'm going to be actually taking a delegation. I'm going to be taking a delegation to Haiti.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
To follow the video shoots that we did of all the historical sites of where, you know, the sugarcane plantation, Fort Liberté, La Citadelle, which is the 8th wonder of the world, which is in Haiti. I'll be taking people to these sites with a tour company from Haiti. So it's safe, but we'll talk about that. You know, just follow up with me or with Dedrick after the show, and we can give you the information about that. And
I was going to say, just to make a quick point on these travel warnings. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore it. Don't get me wrong. But like, for example, with Montserrat, after the volcano, it's been dormant for a while, and it's probably not going to go back off. But if you currently look at the U.S. travel warning for Montserrat, it says you shouldn't go. So just to give you an example on some of these warnings, I mean, the point we're making, don't let that be your final decision. Yeah, be advised on that, but go deeper on that. Do like you're doing tonight. Call into the show, watch this show, and ask us regarding travel. And I believe we have another caller. Caller, please go ahead.
Yes, man. How you doing?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, man. I'm from the Bahamas.
Okay.
Man, we got to keep those Haitians out of the country. They no good, man.
And why do you say that?
Okay, that's okay.
I mean, one point I just want to make, I don't agree with that, but everybody has a right to their own opinion on this show. So please call in any, like I said, comments, questions that you have. And I'm going to touch on something right quick, not to take away from this interview, but one thing we're about on this show is building the islands together, building relations. There is too much division amongst the islands, and that's something we're about on this show. We got representatives from, like I said, Haiti on this show, Trinidad, Karen, who was our co-host, who was my co-host, we're all co-hosts because this is our show. She's from Trinidad. Andrew is from Trinidad. Like I said, Abdallah is from Haiti. You have Errol back there from Jamaica. Like I mentioned before, with me was Montserrat. So we cover multiple islands, and the guests that we bring on cover a lot of islands. And one thing we're about is bringing the strength of the islands together. So caller, I'm not knocking your comment, but all I'm saying is please call back. I want to know what makes you say that, or why do you feel that way? Because that's probably the main thing that we need to touch and get at. Why are you feeling that way? I know you're currently not on, but please, you can call back and we would touch on that. And thank you. Now, I know we mentioned, I want to go back to where we left off before with the monument is in Savannah. Because I know a lot of people, or the majority of people, I take it that far, do not know that there's a Haiti and Georgia tie like that.
Right.
They really don't.
And I think what's really interesting about that is that one of the soldiers that fought in the siege of Savannah that came from Haiti actually went back to Haiti.
Really?
And he ended up becoming the first king of Haiti.
Wow.
After they won their independence. And his name was Henri Christophe.
Okay.
So, and that's such a huge phenomenon that you have the Haitians that came from Haiti to fight in the American Revolutionary War, and they took that idea back, to fight against the British. And they took that idea back, and they went to Haiti, and they decided they were going to form their own uprising and beat the French. Phenomenal.
Wow.
So, but yeah, there is a Georgia tie, and a lot of people don't know that. And what's interesting is that you have to be a little bit more sensitive to Haitians. Like the last caller, yes, he had his own opinion, but if you really truly knew the whole history of Haiti, if you really truly did the research on it, then you'd be more sensitive to the people.
Definitely, right.
So, and I'm not just saying that because I'm Haitian, but you have to do the research.
No, you have to.
So,
you really do.
At any rate.
Yeah, like I said, you're definitely open to your opinion. And I'm serious on that. Please call back. I would really like to know why you feel that way, because a lot of times people feel a certain way based on experience and just one segment. And then they judge everything by that one experience.
Right, and just so that people know that Haiti did not just get their own independence. You know, they helped other islands around the Caribbean to get their own independence as well. You know, when Haiti got their independence, then it was a trickle effect of other countries starting to release their slaves because of what happened. Because of what happened in Haiti.
Wow.
So it was, Haiti was, when you look back on the civil rights movement, everybody talks, especially here in Georgia, where this is supposed to be the center or the beginning of the civil rights movement.
Right.
The civil rights movement started right back to 1791, which is the beginning of the Haitian Revolution. That's when the civil rights movement started. So a lot of people don't know that.
Right.
Because when you think civil rights, you're looking for equal rights. Equal rights started when people decided to stand up and not want to be enslaved anymore, not wanted to be treated differently because of the color of their skin. And that happened in Haiti, and they won.
Wow. So one thing you all should look at, if there was no Haiti, there would maybe be no Atlanta or a bunch of southern U.S. Basically, to take it even further, the U.S. wouldn't be where it is now if it wasn't the Haiti, if it wasn't for Haiti. I'll put it that way. So definitely get your history straight. And before you want to put somebody down or anything, check your history.
Right, and I also want to make mention that a lot of people don't know that in Louisiana, the tie between the United States and Haiti is that in 1791, which was the beginning of the Haitian Revolution, there was such an influx of Haitians and non-Haitians too. So you'll have French people that moved from Haiti, got on the boat, and they were trying to get away because the Haitians at that time were massacring the white population in Haiti. So everybody was afraid. Even the free blacks in Haiti were afraid. So everybody moved to the United States.
Okay.
So a lot of them ended up in Louisiana, in New Orleans. And you can see that tie in the French Quarter.
Right.
Okay, and you can see that where all of the architecture in the French Quarter happens to have been done by the Haitians who came in 1791. So, and most of the black people, that were, they were actually, Louisiana at the time was still owned by France in 1791.
Okay.
So what was going on is you still had enslaved Africans in Louisiana, and then you had an influx of blacks that came from Haiti. So you had free blacks that mingled with the French in Louisiana, and then you had enslaved blacks that were here in the United States working. So what was going on is that you've got, a mixture of blacks and whites that actually got together, and they had relations and they had children, and that's where you've got the mixture of the race in Louisiana. So when we talk, and just so people don't really know, that in Louisiana they used to speak French, and then they used to speak Creole. Originally that started from Haiti. So the impact it had in the United States was humongous. You had, the influence on the architecture. You had the influence on the art. You had the influence on the language,
right.
on religion. Haiti influenced so many different things in the United States. And what's interesting is that, Haiti doesn't get any credit for anything. All what's going on right now is go back to Haiti. But of course, no one wants to recognize the contributions that they had to the United States. Why? And that's another topic that
I was about to say, we need to do a whole series. I mean, really, we haven't even touched the surface of this film yet. And that's a good thing, don't get me wrong, because all the information we're giving is powerful. We're giving you all a free history lesson tonight, and you're definitely going to have to come back on for us. We're not done yet, don't get me wrong, we're not closing out, but you're definitely going to have to come back, because I can just see the direction that this is going. There's no way we're going to be able to cover everything tonight. And one important point I wanted to bring up, well, all the points are important, but one point I wanted to bring up is something else you have to look at, and you mentioned it earlier, I believe, or it's definitely in our information, so we're going to touch it a little bit later. But you all need to look at, when I say you all, well, everybody needs to look at what is causing Haiti to be the way it is now. Last season, for those of you who watched this, I think we touched a couple of weeks on this. There was a news article on how the U.S. is shipping this rice to Haiti's jails, and it has they put this food coloring off of it, which takes away from the B1 vitamin. It looks good. Like everything in our stores nowadays, it's more about appearance than how healthy it is for you. But basically, it was detrimental to the prisoners. So, to make a long story short, it's like, are you helping or you're harming a country? And there's we got a lot deep into it outside of the jails, and how a lot of Haitians got in jail in the first place, and how the U.S. had a lot to do with that. So when you start looking down at you know what? Since I went so deep into it, we're actually going to start touching on that now. Let's get into what has caused Haiti to be the way it is now. And it's not just the negative images that you all see on the news, thinking that, it's just a poor country, people don't do anything for themselves. Because, there's issues with the UN. There's things that I feel that could be done better. But we're going to take it one step at a time, because like I said, I know we don't have enough time tonight to cover everything. So let's first get on some of the points. I know we can't cover all, but some of the points which caused Haiti to be the way it is today.
Okay, and one of the main things is definitely the debt that Haiti had to pay back to France for their independence.
Okay.
And that just gave a trickle effect to the economy today. And then another reason would be because you had large corporations that came into Haiti, especially from Europe, that chopped down all of the hardwoods and used that, of course, sold it for, for money or whatever. But huge effects. You've got tire companies that came to Haiti and cut their trees down for rubber to make tires, and other things like that. And then the hardwoods, and then of course the economy. So really, Haiti really never had a good start. And right now the economy is so bad that people are eating dirt in Haiti. they're making.
I'm actually glad you
dirt
brought that
cookies.
up because I want to lead the viewer to, if it's one news item that I want to get to, and we didn't talk about this before, but it's definitely this. I want you to go to this article, and I'm going to post this on our site, but in the National Geographic, if you just go to that site, search on the article, poor Haitians resort to eating dirt, you will find this article. You know what? You don't even have to go to National Geographic. Just go to a search engine, type in Haitians eating dirt, and you will get a lot of information. And even in Jet Magazine, I believe the issue 2 weeks ago, they had a picture of this in it. And I just want to read a couple of, I guess you could say, facts from this article. And it said, with food prices rising, Haitian poors can't afford even a daily plate of rice, and some must take desperate measures to fill their bellies. Cookies made of dried yellow dirt from the country's central plateau. And it said the problem is particularly dire in the Caribbean, where island nations depend on imports and food prices are up 40% in some places. And that's all I want to touch on this. Please go to your favorite search site. I'm not going to advocate anybody till they start giving us some money, but if you go there and type in Haitians eating dirt, you would get a lot of articles on this. Oh, one thing I do want to touch on is the health effects. Now, even though it's mentioned, and I know I highlighted it in here, of course, now that I say that, I don't see it. There are some benefits. There are a couple benefits to it, just a couple, and I don't believe I just...
Basically, the health...
Yeah, you would know. I should ask you.
The health benefits, well, for women who are pregnant...
That's what I was looking for, right.
There are some minerals in the dirt that help with the pregnancy.
Okay.
But what happens is when people eat dirt, you are basically starving yourself because it doesn't give you enough nutrition. There's no nutritional value in dirt.
Exactly, okay.
There are minerals in the dirt, but you can't sustain yourself with minerals.
Right.
So basically what's happening is children, and not just children, but people are dying of, starvation in Haiti because they can't afford a plate of food.
And
they're resorting to dirt.
Let me ask you all a question. All these missions, or the missions that you all see to Haiti, how many have you all seen that has been to build up the island? You always hear quote unquote peacekeeping, which you always see resulting in some sort of force, but how many times have you seen we're going to down here and replant these trees? We're going to replant this vegetation.
Well, actually, I just want to make mention to that. There are several organizations that are going to Haiti.
Good point.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, let me clarify something. There are organizations, and I want you to speak more on that. I was speaking more so on government forces going into there. But since you brought that up, let's definitely speak on them, because we definitely got to give credits where credit's due, because these people are going in against everything else which is happening and trying to make a difference. So
I mean, there aren't enough.
Oh, definitely, right.
Okay, but there are some, and they go to the rural, villages in Haiti, to the mountains, Central Plateau for one, and they do medical missions because people just don't have the vaccines that they need to protect themselves from different diseases. So something that's as simple as a tooth decay that we can take care of here, people are basically getting a hole in their mouth, on the outside of their mouth because of tooth decay.
Okay, we're going to finish up on that point, but let's grab this caller. Caller, can you go ahead?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, a Haitian found in Chicago, Illinois, disabled.
Yeah, and what's interesting? I'm glad you brought that up, because that leads to another article. Did you know that the person who replaced Obama in the Chicago Senate is a Haitian American?
Correct. And if you can, would you get her to talk about the way that the Dominicans treat Haitians and how the United States government uses the Dominicans to mistreat the Haitians? I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, you know what? That's an interesting point, because last season or the season before last, when the producer, Abdallah, who I mentioned is from Haiti, sat on with me, that's not the only time we talked about that. And that's another situation that you hate to see, especially because they share, for those of you who don't know, it is the same island. It's divided by a border between the Dominican Republic and Haiti. It's just divided. And actually, I keep sending you all to do homework, but go to the website, type in Dominican Republic relations with Haiti, and you're going to get pages and pages of articles.
Right, and I just want to interject, as the caller was mentioned, there is no relation between. Well,
no, go ahead with it. No, you're
second.
saying it the right.
No, because I don't want to make a general statement.
Okay.
Because that's being too general. Okay, because I have a Dominican friend, so I can't say that Haitians and Dominicans don't get along. But there are certain parts of Dominican Republic, especially close to the border, and basically that's a terrible history that Haiti has to live with, where you had Trujillo, who was the president of Haiti in the 30s, I think it was 1932, that massacred like 30 or 40,000 Haitians that lived along the border in Dominican Republic just because they were Haitian.
Wow.
So, and that's the beginning of the reasons why Haiti and I want to say Haiti, Dominican Republic has an issue with the Haitians. And even those, and there's a documentary that's called The Price of Sugar, and you guys should look it up. You can watch the trailer online. It's called www.thepriceofsugar.com. And it talks about a priest, a Catholic priest who basically is doing a missionary in Dominican Republic on the border in the Bataille, which is the sugarcane plantation in Dominican Republic. But basically, the people who work in that plantation are all Haitian, or were born on the plantation, or born in the Bataille. And the people in the Dominican Republic have this animosity towards the Haitians. So when the Haitians come to Dominican Republic, they get stripped of their identification, not just their ID paper, but their everything, their money. So basically, they don't have any type of citizenship because they cannot go back to Haiti, nor can they come into Dominican Republic. They can't go anywhere; they're stuck there. So if they leave the plantation and go to the Dominican Republic, they're going to be treated like basic slaves. So the relation between Dominicans and Haitians is a really poor one, especially when you come across the border. So Dominicans, although they may be my complexion or a little bit lighter, but you have some Dominicans that are really, really dark skinned.
Oh, you do, right.
That look like they're from Haiti, but they don't want to claim that they're Haitian because they want to claim that they're Spanish. Okay, so because they think Spanish basically is something better than being black.
Right.
So the issue is between the Haitians and Dominicans is about race. And what's interesting is that they are black. You come, if they don't say that they are Dominican, then they'll just be classified as black people.
Right.
Okay, but if they say they're Dominican, especially here in the United States, they are considered Spanish. So that to me is, very interesting.
And it's sad. I mean, you should definitely keep up with your heritage, but you look how far Spain is from the Dominican Republic, and you look how close Haiti is. Like I said, it's the same island, and that shows you how much of a shame this is. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with this divisions that I hate seeing. And we're going to have to do, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to tell the viewers that the reason that I'm doing this documentary is because I really wanted to dispel the myths of Haitian people.
Good.
Okay, and people have this idea that all Haitian people are very, very, very dark skinned.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you look at me, both of my parents are from Haiti.
Right.
My grandparents are from Haiti. Everybody else in my family is from Haiti, so you have this, there's the different colors and different types of people who live in Haiti. You've got white Haitians, you've got dark-skinned Haitians. You have mulattoes, you have Asians, you have Assyrians. Just like you see here in the United States, you see it in Haiti.
Right.
But the thing about it is the masses, it's 90%, 95% really black, dark-skinned people, but the rest of the people it's just a small majority, but a lot of the masses, a lot of the masses don't get the opportunity to see everybody else. So what the media portrays, and I used to work for the media, so this is
firsthand.
I know firsthand, what they try to do is to show the worst. Okay, so they're going to show Haitian people eating dirt, or they're going to show Africans practicing voodoo, and not all Haitians practice voodoo. I hope the viewers are listening because
definitely,
okay,
yeah,
we don't all practice voodoo. We have our own different religions. Of course, we all came from Africa, and we all came from the west coast of Africa, where that's where voodoo began. But we don't all practice it. So we all have free will. We can make our own decisions. So at any rate, Haiti is not what people think it is. And the reason this documentary is so important is because we want people to see the truth about Haiti. And, the media does not portray that. And what better than a Haitian person to write a documentary, produce it, and direct it
Right.
about Haiti.
Right. You can't get any better
Okay.
than that. And you know what's interesting about this, the point you just made? A neighbor of mine, we were talking about, what's her name? From Jamie Foxx show, the main actress on it. What's it called?
Garcella Beauvais?
Right. And I told him that she's Haitian.
Yep, she's
And
Haitian.
if you could have seen the reaction on his face, he's like, she's Haitian?
She's Haitian. B.B. King is Haitian.
Right. And
Of course, everybody knows Wyclef is Haitian.
yeah.
You know, but there are so many prominent Haitian people who live in the United States, you know, and people have no idea. Haitians are everywhere.
And you know what's funny about it? Just like how the Haitians came to Savannah, New Orleans, New York, Chicago. If you all look deep enough in your roots, don't be surprised. I'm
Right.
going to leave it right there. Don't be surprised.
That's right, and that's what I was trying to make mention to earlier. When the Haitians came to the United States, they intermingled with, you know, the Africans that lived here, that either were enslaved or were not, or even with the Indians that lived here, as Dusable did, where he migrated, you know, of course, he came from Haiti to New Orleans, and then from New Orleans he went up through the Midwest and made it to Chicago and married an Indian woman.
Wow.
So, you know, Haitians are all over the place. We're all mixed up.
Definitely. And callers, let me back up. Let me definitely thank you for all your calls. I mean, you have really taken this interview. You're taking on a different direction, which is good. And that's why you're definitely going to have to come back. Because there's a lot of, as you see, I have a list of questions I want to go on for this film. But if we hit them, we will. If we don't, we'll get them another time because you're going to have to come back. And I believe I hear the phone ringing again. So we might get interrupted on this next comment by another call. But let me bring out the film. And something else I wanted to touch on because, I mean, this, well, as much as most documentaries should, this is a very educational piece. And it's something that everybody needs to see. I mean, this needs to be pumped in the schools. Just like a caller earlier mentioned, they were like, we didn't hear anything really about the Haitian Revolution, and that's right after I said that. But before I continue on, I believe, is the caller there? Okay.
But I wanted to interject and say that the reason I'm doing this documentary is also because I really wanted everybody to have a firsthand account of truly what Haiti is.
Correct.
And the reason, the way I'm doing that is being that it's a nonprofit project. So we have this documentary going to air on a public broadcast station here in Atlanta first, and then I'm going to take it around, you know, around the world.
Good.
But it's not for profit. You know, I'm not trying to make any money off of this. I really want this documentary to go in this educational purpose. I really want it to be in the library. I have children of my own. I want them to be able to go, if they have a project, a history project, you want your children to learn more about Haiti, go to the library, see a video. But you go to a library right now, all you see is voodoo.
Yeah.
Haiti is much
That's
more
right.
than voodoo. I'm sorry. So this project...
Much more.
Okay, so this project is going to go in the library so that everyone will have access to it on their own.
Correct. And like I said, this show, we are definitely going to continue on talking about it. And go ahead.
And I also wanted to make mention that I'm working on this project on my own, and I have been since 2002.
Wow.
And since it's a labor of love, I've committed my life to this project so that it does air. And since I am doing it on my own, you know, I am looking for funding because we do need to go to Haiti. So if anybody has any resources that they would like to help out with this project in any way, of course you'll get credit for it. You know, please visit the website later on this evening, or you can email me and you'll have that information at the end of the show.
And your website again is?
Your website.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, we will definitely have this information on. And like I said, please contact us, email the way. And you see it's on the screen now. MySpace. Actually, it's slightly wrong. It should be the other graphics. It's myspace.com/Atlanta Caribbean Report. So those of you who are watching, it's /Atlanta Caribbean Report. There should be another graphic on there. But I believe we have a phone call. Caller, are you there?
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
No, I was just basically wanting to make a comment, and my comment really was to the female that is on the show. She is from Haiti, am I correct?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
She is.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to sum up a few of myths, should I say. They say that because Jamaica and Haiti and things of that nature are they say that it's more so of worshiping the devil or some sort of say. Not just because it's south of the equator, but I don't know. It's just myths, myths and things like you were saying for Buddhism and things of that nature. They say that those people are, hateful. You know what I mean? If you can understand where I'm going with this, by it being south of the.
Well,
Okay.
go ahead.
Sorry, caller. What's your question?
Well, I was just having a comment. Really.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that that's one of the reasons why I'm doing the documentary, to dispel the myths. Now, not every Haitian person practices voodoo. I mean, voodoo is, people do practice voodoo in Haiti, but not everybody does.
And I was going to say, as far as south of the equator, actually you have to go a lot further to reach the equator. The Trinidad is the furthest south Caribbean island. Barbados is the furthest east Caribbean island, and neither one of them are on the other side of the equator. They are the same side of the hemisphere as the United States. But I'm glad you brought up that point, because there are a lot of myths out there regarding the islands.
Hold on a second. You have in Puerto Rico, you have Dominican Republic, and Cuba. They practice Santeria,
right,
which is witchcraft.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Right. And again, in that case, it's not widespread. Look up and search on the internet in the United States of witchcraft and voodoo practicing. You may even find more cases here in the United States than you do in the island. But then again, this all goes back in what is being pumped out there, what is being portrayed. And that's why your documentary is so important. Right. That's why this show is so important. And the common denominator with both of these is nonprofit. There's no pay we're receiving right now. Our main focus on this is to educate you. Of course, if money comes behind it, I mean, it's not like we're going to knock it down, but that is not our main purpose in what we're doing. We're here to educate you and to get out to as many people as possible. Right. Now, I know we're coming down to the end of the show. I can't believe it, because I was thinking we were close to the middle of the show, but that just goes to show when there's interesting topics, that's just how things flow. So you're definitely going to have to come back. And I will, as you mentioned, on the website tonight, I will get that information on. And one point I want to make, I mentioned unity among the islands. It works the same way, or we're trying to do the same thing with the Caribbean media here in Atlanta. And I just like to say one way that I found you is through Jason Walker, who is actually the head of Caribbean music at WRFG. You had you on for an interview, I think back in December, if I'm not mistaken. And we are doing a tie between the two programs and other media within Atlanta, because we have to build this up stronger. We just have to. And I know we're down to the end of the show, so I have to ask you, there's a lot of things I wasn't able to touch on. So is there anything else on the documentary that you want to give out to our viewers?
What's pressing right now is that we get footage in Haiti, and that I get a crew to Haiti. That's what's pressing, because like I said, I would say 95% of the interviews have been done already here in the United States.
Okay.
And that's thanks to WSB TV, because basically they have allowed me to use their production crew to go throughout, the United States to shoot the interviews here. But as far as going to Haiti is concerned, I'm not allowed to use their equipment overseas.
Okay.
So I need help, with a production crew in Haiti. And like I said, we have not received funding yet. I've written several grants, but nothing has come through yet. A lot of no's, especially when it comes to Haiti. Everything is no. But I'm still working it out. I'm trying to find ways. We're going to have a fundraising event, and I'll have more information on that when we set a date. We don't have one as of yet.
Okay. I'm definitely going to have her information on the website, because this show has to be made. Please join us next week, 7 p.m., People TV on this station, and go to the website, myspace.com/Atlanta Caribbean Report. Again, that's myspace.com/Atlanta Caribbean Report. And all our information is on there. And you can also contact us. You can contact us there. We run out of time, so I want to let you say another comment.
I just want to say, sac passe to all my Haitian people, my family, my friends. Keep up the good work, everybody, and please learn more about Haiti, okay? have to learn more because my history happens to be everybody else's history. So please learn it.
Okay, thank you again for joining us. Please. This is just part one. Don't think we're going to cover this and you're never going to hear it again. This is just part one. You follow up on the site, and again, join us next week. Thank you for watching us. Please spread the word because this is not just our show. This is your show too. Thank you. I'm Dedrick Henry. Again, we have Sandra Polanese Centeno with the Price of Freedom documentary that will be coming out, and we're going to definitely keep you posted on you. Thank you, and good night.
On a quitté la pension pour venir vivre à Orly. Est-ce que j'ai vu ce jour-là a sûrement changé ma vie. Dans un pavillon, ma mère louait une seule pièce, car rideaux séparés, 30 mètres carrés au plus. Dans ce truc-là, on était 5 vivant dans la promiscuité. Ouvrir un frigidaire vite, ne demande pas si je sais ce que c'est. Mais maman nous a jamais laissé crever de faim. Maman a toujours subvenu à nos besoins. Pour notre bonheur, elle a sacrifié le sien. Étonnant ce que l'on peut faire par amour pour des gosses. Avant je portais pas de Nike, mais plutôt des jokers. Mon style vestimentaire provoquait des sourires moqueurs.
Depuis autant des vacances privées, si mon comment a c'est la joie de vivre. Qu'un bon soleil pour nous prendre un bain de mer. En vacances faire nous contents. C'est ça qui fait les vacances privées. N'oubliez soucis, chagrin, tout problème la vie. On passe sur plage, pique-nique dans tout petit bal. Ambiance tout partout, musique à pleurer.